Hello. Hello, everybody.
Good afternoon. We're going to bring a bit of love into the afternoon and finish off with a big frequency of love.
Before we do start, we'd actually like to do a little bit of an activity because part of what we do actually at the temple, which is what we're going to be talking a little bit about, as well as some energy work, is we like to show people a little bit about just how powerful they are. So I don't know if anyone's used dowsing sticks before? Yeah? Awesome. These ones I've just made, but they still work the same. So with dowsing sticks, they just pick up the frequencies, and what I want to do, can everyone see me if I do this? Yeah? Okay. So the way that dowsing sticks work is they pick up frequencies, and what I'm going to actually do is scan the collective aura of everyone today. Okay? So before I start, I just want to ask, what is the answer for yes? Okay, so the answer for yes is actually the sticks moving in. Can everyone see that? Okay. What is the answer for no? Okay, so the answer for no is moving outwards. They get a bit happy sometimes. So who wants to guess how big our collective aura is right now? Just shout out numbers. 200 meters? Okay, is the collective of everyone in this room's aura 200 meters? Okay, yes. Is the collective of everyone's aura in this room more than 200 meters? Okay, so I'm just going to start bringing in some more higher numbers. The other thing as well is as we're working on this topic, we actually multiply square our energy, so we actually amplify our energies, so that's something I'm going to be talking a little bit about. Okay, is the collective of our aura in this room more than 400,000 meters? No. Is the collective of our aura more than 300 meters? Okay, so we're between 300 and 400, okay? So we're just going to do a little activity.
So everybody, we just want you to get it nice and comfortable. Try your best to sit up straight. And just slowly, I would like to get everyone just to close your eyes. Just close your eyes. We're going to take 3 slow, deep breaths in and out. A deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and a deep breath out. A deep breath in and a deep breath out. Bring your awareness to the breath and release any thoughts that are not serving you. Now, imagine a life of freedom, a life with more nature, a life with more health, a life with more fitness, a life with more hobby, a life with your family, and most importantly, a life within yourself. All the while, still being able to function in society, have a purpose, and to be positive and contribute to the community. Now go into how that feels like. Embody that feeling. And bring that feeling of love to this present moment.
So slowly coming back into this space. I want you to feel the weight of your body in your chair. Feel the air on your skin. And acknowledge the consciousness of you being in this present moment. Taking a long, deep breath. And start to move your fingers and your toes. And you can open your eyes. Thanks everyone for doing that. So, I just want to do another quick test. So how big was the last reading that we said? 300, 400, was it meters? Okay. Is the collective of our aura more than 300,000 kilometers? Thank you. Is the collective of our aura more than 300 million kilometers? What's a planet that's outside? How far would that be? Pardon? Neptune. Okay. Is the collective of our aura span out to Neptune? Okay. Any other planets after that? Pluto. Okay. Is the collective of our aura spanning out past Pluto? Any others? Pleiades? Is the collective of our aura spanning past Pleiades? Okay. Sirius? Okay. Is the collective of our aura spanning past Sirius? Galactic center? All right. Is the collective of our aura spanning past the galactic center? Ooh. High five, everybody. So, just a little bit of a background. I actually did my pranic healing studies here about 4 years ago. Has anyone heard of pranic healing? Here's my water bottle. Thank you. So it's kind of like doing a full circle. I started off here as a student and now I'm here as a speaker, which is really like, yay, high five to me. I'm one half of a collective in Surrey Hills called The Temple. My name's Cassandra and I work as a full-time healer, energetic healer, as a spiritual mentor, also as a psychic and crystal teacher and healer. So that's me.
And I'm the second part, which is the divine masculine. And we do a lot of holding space, a lot of energetic healing. I've got a holistic health company, so I'm in the business of activating people's DNA and getting people to the best end state possible. And we're going to go through a few things now about how we as a collective can embody that. And questions later.
So we're not denying that there isn't something that it would be naive to think that we're alone, okay? So, but it's also necessary for us to be discerning as to what information that we feed ourselves, because part of moving forward is being able to have discernment and create the right steps forward through heart space, or at least that's what we believe anyway. So we're not here to criticize the old paradigm, we're here to show you the new one. And that new one is to actually stand in your power.
And could tiny little crystals in our brain unlock psychic powers? Scientists have discovered magnetite crystals, a highly magnetic substance in the brain, which this goes back to the plasma, to our electromagnetic field in this earth. Magnetite works like an antenna for electromagnetic fields. It could be an important key in understanding the biological effects of these fields. Studies have shown that mood, memory, and learning ability can be affected by these magnetic fields. Birth rate, deaths, and even financial markets have been observed to correlate with the geomagnetic force of the planet. So, all 7 billion brains on this earth be connected through the planet's magnetic field?
Yes.
Yes, we are. Dr. Michael Persinger has theorized a connection that allows for telepathy. Through rigorous scientific experiments, he has found evidence for psychic abilities and clairvoyance. Curiously, the strongest telepathic effect occurs when the brain is resonating at 7.8 hertz. And you know what is 7.8 hertz? Is the Schumann resonance of the earth, which is the heartbeat of the earth. A standing electromagnetic wave that exists between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere. So, we're worldwidely connected, there's no separation, and there's a universal connection with all of us. And this goes back to what we started the day off with, and that is the original people were all aware and understood the fabric of life that was creating everything. Each being had their dreaming or purpose which enabled them to feel a belonging. They also respected the laws, L-O-R-E, of nature and what made up the land and the spirits that work on their dimensional planes. So, what human potential could be unleashed if we better understood this connection? And this is where Magic K comes into play.
So, if our idea of consciousness is something that moves, something that breathes, something that's sensitive, that grows, maybe excretes, reproduces, and is nutritious, is our awareness of what consciousness is, then our awareness of consciousness is very limited. Consciousness is awareness of perception and thoughts. And one of the things that can actually, can I just use that clicker? Clicker. Crystals pick up electromagnetic bands of frequencies. Thoughts are electromagnetic frequencies. Okay, so I'm just going to give another example. I have like a little crystal here, tiny little pebble. It's not really big, it's just a tiny little pebble. I'm going to put it on my piece of paper so it doesn't fall away. And I'm going to quickly do another scan. So when I do scans, it's good to actually look at the crystal, because what we perceive, we believe. And if I'm doing this and looking at something else, then my consciousness isn't actually focused. And one of the things that you want to do when you're actually doing energetic work is be very focused. So I'm going to look at this little crystal and have my awareness on the crystal, and I'm going to ask, is this crystal's aura more than 1 meter in size? Yes, okay. Thank you very much. Is this crystal's, can you reset please? There we go. Is this little crystal's aura larger than 10 meters in size? No. Okay. So is this crystal's aura more than 9 meters in size? Yes, okay. So this crystal's energetic field is 9 meters in size, approximately. Now, it's only tiny. I'm going to keep that. It's only tiny, but this is what makes you realize the actual ability of crystals as batteries. And so a lot of the time we have these crystals and we're not even aware of just how powerful they are and just how big their energetic field is. So what I'm going to do, and this is something that I actually teach, is cleaning a crystal. Now, you can clean a crystal many different ways, but you can actually use your own energy to clean crystals. So I'm just going to clean the crystal now. And what I'm doing is I'm using my hand to actually feel the frequency or to communicate with the crystal. And this is something I teach people, is how to actually communicate with crystals is using your body, because we are one big receptor and we can receive information. And I'll give you a little bit of an example. I saw a medicine man or a gentleman that could read auras. And I asked him, can you tell what was wrong with me? And at the time, I had specific areas that there was ailments. And he picked them up straight away. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. Anyway, about less than 2 years ago, a woman asked me, can you tell me what's wrong with me? And I started looking at her, and I'd never done this before, and I just started looking at her, and all of a sudden I could just feel in my eyeballs where the actual energy was disharmonious. So what had happened over the years of practicing energetic work was my body had become so sensitive that in my eyeballs I could actually feel where the disease was in her body. And it's like having millions and millions and millions of feathers all over your body that you can actually pick up these frequencies. And so when you're working with other dimensional beings or other dimensions, you can feel that actual change in your body because your sensitivity has become heightened. So I'm just going to scan again how big this crystal's aura is after I've just cleansed it with my own energetic field. So I'm just going to quickly tap into it. Is this crystal's aura more than 400,000 kilometers? Okay, thank you. Reset. Is this crystal's aura more than 800,000 kilometers? Oh, it's like, which one? 800,000 kilometers. Okay, so I won't go to how big it is, but you can already see just from the energy that I've created in my body, I've actually changed its energetic field. So now it's supercharged and it's activated. And that is the difference between a crystal that is being used just as a beautiful ornament or as something that is a healing tool. So quartz is the mineral composed of silicon and oxygen atoms. Quartz is the second most abundant mineral in the Earth's continental crust. So if we have quartz as our second major element in the Earth, and quartz is a crystal, and we are sitting on top of a crystal, then that shows that the Earth is a consciousness, and that we are consciously interacting with this Earth through our own crystalline structure that we can actually, through training, become more aware of and actually use for our benefits. So one of the things I wanted to do was actually find out how I could actually scan this energy. And one of the things that really inspired me by Grandmaster Choe Sui that I heard of when I was learning about him was that he had two really powerful mediums that he had on different sides of the world. And what he would do is when he actually had something that he channeled, he would go to one medium and ask them, okay, what's happening here? And they would give him a result. And then he would go to the other medium on the other side of the world that never met each other and ask what's happening there. And if he received the same results, then he knew that the practice was working. Now, his record of somebody having cut themselves and healing them with full skin and closure is 7 minutes. Okay? And that's just energy. And the thing is that clean, fresh energy trumps diseased energy always. Okay, so what this BioWell machine does is takes electromagnetic shots of your fingerprints, and these fingerprints show an actual discharge of the actual energy that's coming out from those fingers, and those fingers are all connected to different organs within our bodies. So using kinesiology, it shows the actual life force in our body and the life force in our organs and how much energy we're carrying. The guy that I actually got this machine from 2 years ago, he was using the study to actually find out how much energy he had in his body, because he would get these glass containers that had little aluminium foiled paper planes, and what he would do when he had really high energy was actually lift these paper planes up inside the glass, because that's how much energy he had in his body. And he showed me videos. He actually took videos of this, and then I was like, okay, sweet, I'm sold. I'll get one of those. And so then I started using this to do tests on energy and tests on crystals as well. The guy that created it was Dr. Konstantin, and I can't pronounce his last name, but he's been using these studies for over 25 years, and they actually use this machine in hospitals when they don't have enough time to actually do blood tests to find out what's wrong with the patient. They do these scans because it can tell which organs are going into failure, so that they can find if there's internal bleeding or something where the actual trauma is, to go straight there. So it's actually being used in hospitals. So this was a study that I did that I wanted to show you on some energy work that's been used with the machine. So as you can see here, this person's energy is about 51 joules, and I did this scan with them at 9:51 a.m. and you can see their aura is quite cracked, and they'd had a pretty hectic day before where they'd gone to the gym, they had lower back problems and their legs were sore, and they were just really quite stressed out. So that was the original scan. And as you can see, this machine also shows you the actual energy or life force of the person's chakras as well. So the average of this person was actually 3 joules. And you can see they're quite scattered. And if you see on one side it's introvert and then the other side is extrovert. So I believe it's on the left-hand side. Is it? Just a bit hard to see. On the right-hand side is extroverted. So that's like factors that are outside that are influencing us. So if the actual chakras, The other way around, okay. So if you see in my screen, the right-hand side is the extroverted side, and that actually means factors from environment, so the outside that are affecting the person's energetic field that is creating the disharmonious frequency. And on the left-hand side is the introverted, which is like inner emotions or dealing with things within yourself and your own space. So this scan was actually taken after some vitamins, minerals, proteins, carbs, and lipids that I scanned using my body, because I have an array of all of these things. And I teach people actually how to scan which ones you need using the energy of your body so that you're taking the correct thing rather than just taking everything and then you don't know whether you need it or not. So this person actually took a concoction of things like ginseng, vitamin D, vitamin C, Hushi Wu, some mushroom thingy, some protein powder, like it was like a pea protein. And you can see the actual energy of the person has gone up from 51% to 68% in a matter of less than an hour. And you can start to see their chakras have started to come in and start getting a lot larger as well. So if there's one thing that you can take away from this is that you should be taking your vitamins, minerals, your carbs and your proteins, and you don't need to eat meat to get proteins either, by the way. So then I did another scan where I actually teach people about water and how it actually can cleanse the outer aura of your body. And what it does is it actually acts as like a rebooting, like rebooting the computer, and it disrupts the energy in order for you to get a clear reading once again. And we have some energetic soaps that we recommend that help with that frequency as well. So as you can see now, the actual person's energetic aura has gone from about 65% to about 75% just from taking that shower. But what you can see is all of their chakras have moved over to the extroverted side, which is like they've been influenced by the outside, and now all of their energy is like quite stabilizing from an external factor. But as well, the energy of their chakras has gone from, I think it was 6 joules. It's gone from 5 joules to 6 joules. Okay, so that was just again within a couple of less than an hour that energy has already changed again. Now, one of the things that I've done with crystals is create an actual modality where you can use crystals in a template that actually you don't even have to lay on your body, you just have to scan the crystals that you need. And you got to understand each crystal has a different vibration or a frequency, and those frequencies are to create harmony. So if you have a headache, that's a disharmonious frequency. So you might be using a crystal to actually bring back that harmony to get rid of the headache. And so what I do with this modality is I teach you how to scan which crystals you need to create that harmonious harmony, and then put it on this template that's been created using sacred geometry and DNA frequencies. And so what has happened from this reading that was at 6 joules, it's gone up to 94 joules within 3 hours. And this person stated that they didn't have any pain anymore, that they were buzzing, that they had lots of energy. And this is the state when you want to do energetic work. If you wanted to create and manifest, you want to have energy to manifest, but you want to have energy of life force, okay? But what was even more amazing was the actual chakras. Now that was an average of 8 joules, but there's some there that are actually 9 joules in energy. Now, the beautiful thing about crystals is they actually activate your psychic ability so that you can become more aware of frequencies and more aware of vibrations that are actually creating disharmony in your body. And if we become more aware of disharmony, then we're able to act more quickly to actually change that frequency. And as you saw before, just from everybody getting together and doing a simple little activity of just going into a heart space of feeling, you just saw how much our energy collectively expanded. And what we could do if everybody understood this and actually practiced that what we could actually achieve. And so in that, when we come to these things and actually listen to speakers, we're actually activating things inside of us. We're remembering, and we're passing on information through our cellular memory as well. So it's really important that we do go to these sites. Maybe we might not feel something straight away, but it actually changes something inside of us because of the frequencies that they hold, which then goes into the future, 5D.
So all this communication about energy, about who we are as conscious vessels, all ties into what our life purpose is. And our life purpose is to create temple spaces for people to be able to come to learn about different modalities, to recharge their batteries and to change their frequencies. So Cass and I, we're a part of a conscious community that's been running in Sydney, in Surrey Hills since 2016. When this placed together, we had a clear vision to make space that'd be used as a place to congregate for those who were ready to move in the direction of being connected to themselves and the world around them.
It's also interesting that if we want to combat issues such as depression, alcoholism, loneliness, we need to create these healers because there is something that is coming, and that we need to be prepared to have these spaces so that people have a place that they feel like they're safe and secure. And it's necessary for us to have a platform to teach others, something that we can pass on to our next generation, and actually a model that can be recreated that isn't about making it difficult. Because you just saw just then how easy it was, and it actually made you more aware of how we need to become more accountable for things that we're doing just because they have that massive effect. So if we are going to combat all these things, it's about creating the knowledge and the awareness. Because I can tell you one thing, when people come into that space, they leave transformed because of the ability to be seen and have that open heart space with inclusivity and feel like they can actually combat those things. Kieran was actually saying, like, well-being isn't all about sunshine. It's actually about combating those demons and having a space that you can do it where you don't feel like you're alone. And so the health is part of moving through our multi-dimensional being. We're physical, emotional, mental, and etheric beings. And an example of that is a man that has diabetes could be given from a friend of his a lolly, and his physical body's like, oh, I really want to eat that. But his emotional body's like, oh, I'm really sad, I can't eat that. It's like really upsetting. And his mental body says, I'm really upset that my friend didn't realize that, I'm diabetic, how insensitive. And his etheric or his spiritual body says, what a beautiful gesture. I'll give it to somebody else. And all of those things are happening all at once. It's just which one are we aware of? And so when we learn about these frequencies that we're emitting and how we can get to a higher state of consciousness, that we're actually able to create a flow and ebb that's working with life rather than against it.
So, fellow humanoids, in concluding, we're here to pave a way for conscious community and give a vision of us humans not to give away our freedom and to step into our power. It's our life purpose to create temple spaces in as many suburbs and cities as possible to people to come to recharge their batteries, get energetically activated, and change their energetic frequencies. In turn, our teachers, students, and Vibe Tribe can take what they've learned and put it into their own communities and families. And as we were saying earlier, these frequencies are multiplied, recreating us as species and stepping into a new evolution of mankind. And I feel that this is tied in from the morning to what we're all talking about for the consciousness, magnetic field of the earth, and what can actually happen and how we can change the energetic pathways in our life at any moment, and just tapping into that heart. So let's get back to optimum health, physically, spiritually, and create the best end state possible as individual beings and as a collective. We see a future, and it's a bright, beautiful future like this rainbow and this happy woman, and that's what we envision. So sending love and light to all of you. Thank you so much for listening. We go so much deeper into many different facets of health and spirituality. So from diet to energetic healing to a beautiful spectrum of modalities that can pave the way for heart space.
And we actually, we don't want it to be about boxing people in. We're creating a language through energy that can be open to everybody. It's open to any religion, any person that wants to use it, because energy doesn't lie. And so rather than creating like a religion, we're creating a way of being that's through awareness, because prevention is the key, prevention over treatment. And once you raise your vibration to a certain frequency, disease just doesn't exist. But it's about becoming aware of that frequency and how to keep it there. So thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, we have, I think, 20 minutes.
Yay! 20 minutes.
Okay, any questions? Yes?
Cassandra, I think you had some galena on your table?
Pyrite.
Oh, right. Anyway, it's not a question but a statement. It used to amaze us at school that we made crystal sets, which was a bit of galena with a little bit of wire on it, a cat's whisker,
Yeah.
and it'd pick up wireless signals and with some earphones. You make a very simple little radio set. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing what crystals can do when we actually understand. And a lot of the thing is, the misconception is that we think crystals that are the color of our chakras are the ones that will heal our chakras. But what happens if we're dealing with an attachment in our solar plexus? You don't want to be putting citrine or carnelian in there. That'll just amplify the energy. You want to put black tourmaline or black obsidian to suck out that energy out of it. And so there's a lot of misconceptions that are out there that actually aren't true, that are now needing to be cleared, because these crystals are extremely powerful. And one of the other things is, if you're sleeping with your crystals in your room and you're finding it hard to sleep, that's because they're amplifying your energy. They're actually making all of your chakras a lot bigger. And so you're finding it hard to actually astral travel and do the work in other planes. And if your crystals are dirty and you're not cleaning them regularly, then you're also hanging about in that energy. So it's some hard truths, but that's kind of the thing that needs to be put out there, so in order for us to use these tools for ascension correctly.
Thank you. Next question.
Could you explain to me, did I understand right that there's a connection between silicon and crystalline energy?
Yeah, quartz is made out of silicon. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thanks, Cassandra. Yes, up the back. Carl.
Thank you very much, both of you, for that. I've heard different opinions on this, but I would like to get yours between natural form crystals still in rocks versus nicely cut, polished, fancy ones. Have you found a difference in energy or benefits between?
Yeah, that's a really good question. One of the things that people freak out about is people touching their crystals. I can tell you now, just being in their energetic field can change a person's crystal. Now, that has to come from a certain awareness or consciousness of how to do that. But, you know, medicine pouches that the Native Americans had, the reason why they had all of their crystals in the medicine pouches is because leather, fur, and silk are the three types of materials that cannot penetrate an actual energy. So a lot of if you're storing your crystals, especially in your home, it's good to have silk or cloth or silk leather or fur. And if you're vegan, I do have a technique that you can use that doesn't actually use animal products. But when I actually activate people's matrix in my crystal class, and what I do is I actually change your energetic field or matrix so that way you can bring in a transformation into the crystal's matrix that actually changes the crystalline structure to be sent unconditional love into its from when it was incepted until now, to remove any trauma from anyone that's actually touched it, used it to polish it, and also clearing any imprints that are negative, because we don't know where that crystal has been from. It might have been used by people in a previous life that had malintentions. Also, the birthing of the crystal. You know, some crystals are blown out of the ground, whereas others are softly birthed out. And that's part of the problem, is like they're holding all of that trauma. And one of the things that I teach is actually how to download crystals into the clear quartz, so that way if you have a special crystal that you want, you don't have to go out and buy it. It's an advanced technique, but you can actually download it into the clear quartz so that you can use any crystal's energy that you need at any time. So yeah, it does make a big difference. The raw ones are obviously less traumatized, but once you actually know how to clear the energy, then they will be clear from any of that.
Thank you. Next question. Oh, right at the back. I beg your pardon. Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure what you meant when you said download.
Download means that you can actually, because the crystal is a frequency, you can actually download other frequencies, because the clear quartz crystal is a universal donor. So what that means is we all have donors that we can actually get blood transfusions from, but the clear quartz is the one crystal that actually can download any other crystal's matrix into its being. So it can work as any type of crystal.
Okay, and also cleaning. I thought you could do it by washing and leaving in the sunlight.
Yes, sunlight and running water are two of the ways that I highly recommend to somebody that is wanting to clear them. That will get rid of any of the energy that it's picked up, but when you activate them, that's like supercharging them, because you saw how big the aura of the crystal then became, like a supercharged battery.
I actually have a question.
Yes.
My question is this. I had a fluorite. It was yellow fluorite. It was a double tetrahedron that was given to me, a very large piece. It was like a museum piece. Now, it broke. Within a week of it breaking, I was in a car accident. My health went downhill psychologically. I had basically like a mental breakdown. And I often wonder if there was any connection between the two. I know that's a pretty difficult question to ask, but...
What happens when a crystal breaks is it's actually sacrificing itself. So what it does is it absorbs something from you that it needs to help heal you. Now, you can glue them if it hasn't shattered. So you can glue them together and actually do a process to bring them back to their natural form. But what you might have actually been experiencing was the lack of that harmony in your life. So then what was happening was the disharmony of not having that crystal's energy in your life.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, another question over here. Vicky?
You mentioned earlier about not having the crystals in your bedroom when you sleep. Guilty. So do you recommend putting them all out into a room or a certain metre kind of away from the bedroom?
You can have them in the bedroom, but what I do is create like a space that they live and then have like a cloth over them when you're sleeping. And then you can take the cloth off. They're highly conscious. They actually work when you communicate with them. You might not notice straight away, but after a while when you start working with them and then you might forget one at home, you'll be like, oh my God, I feel like I can't function. And that's because they work on a vibrational frequency. Some of the crystals that I brought today were with regards to some of the things that people ask to create more harmony in their life. And so one of them is pyrite, actually helps to anchor the mental body. So when we have monkey mind or lots of chatter that stops us and self-sabotages us, the pyrite anchors us and helps us to create drive and action, which then helps us to manifest what we want. Whereas if you're somebody that's always rigid and can't find a way of being open to possibility, then spirit quartz helps to open you up to your inner child. And children are the most innocent, open to imagination creators in this planet. And that's because their brain actually between 5 and 11, and this is something that I just watched recently that Leanne sent me, which was amazing. It's a school that they teach kids to actually develop their psychic abilities. And so they were showing that the brain actually develops between 5 and I think 12, the logical side, which then we untrain ourselves to hold that creative spiritual side of ourselves. And so in actually using spirit quartz, it opens us up to possibilities and also the frequencies or the sound of the cosmos. So that's just another reason why they're so amazing when you work with them. Yeah.
Can I make a comment just about the, pardon me, the pyrite?
Yes.
When I was young, my grandmother was a musician and singer and whatnot, but she had a lot of interest in gemology. And of course, we always knew she had pieces of pyrite, and we always knew them as being fool's gold. And she used to say that represents a reality check, because when the Fossicas were out mining for gold and they found that, it was like, you fool, go home, you're never going to find gold here. So I just thought I'd tell that little story. Okay, next question. Over here, the man in blue.
Cassandra, I'm fascinated by your dowsing sticks.
Yes.
Could you tell me how, when the water dowses, what field, what energy forces allows them to determine where the water is, please?
Yeah, it's interesting because the science can't prove 100% how dowsing sticks work. It's one of those like spooky things. And when we were doing the presentation, how we were talking about the earth having a vibrational frequency, I was very lucky to work with an original interpreter. He wasn't from the actual bloodline, but his father was adopted into the family. And he took me out to the land to actually use our body, because our body is like one big receptor or a dowsing stick. And you can feel the actual change in the land where there's water or where there's gas underneath the earth. And so these places would be hot zones or whatever. And so what the dowsing sticks do is they pick up through our body that actual shift. And that's when the actual, the sticks move, basically. Yes, yeah.
I've got a comment along those lines, just on that subject. Again, my grandmother, so forgive me. She was a pretty special lady. When she first married, my grandfather bought her a new farm, a new property out west, where there hadn't been properties. And the first thing, I remember her telling me this story, the first thing they did was hire the local water diviner. Now, in every town there was a water diviner, and he was accepted by the town. And everyone, if they had a new farm, they would hire him to come and find where the water is. Quite an amazing thing, because how often do we do that today? No, we don't do it at all.
And there's not, and these wise people have been killed off.
Correct.
And that's been because they don't want this power that we possess to come out. And we have like a very strong community of people between their 20s to, mid 40s and everything around that. But, there's 20s to 30-year-olds that are coming to this place that are very aware of this and that are awakening and that are needing people to give that extra guidance. And that's why it's really amazing to see just how many of these people, because I went to a spiritual church when I was younger, so that's how I understood all about this stuff. And when I was growing up in my awakening, there wasn't anyone around to actually teach me all of this stuff. So it was very lonely and daunting, and that's one of the things that I don't want our next generation to feel, is that loneliness, because that's what we need, is these people to help.
Bravo.
Could I ask Susan how Indigenous Australian Hierophants use crystals?
Exactly the same way.
as Cassandra was saying, that your body picks up on energies. Like, this is one big stick. And yes, there are crystals and many various crystals across this continent, and we use them. We use them for healing, we use them for, and rocks and other things for different purposes.
Thank you, Susan.
There is one other thing that I just wanted to say is we don't need actually anything. We use these tools because we're learning to trust ourselves. We're just using them to show and share this knowledge, but you can actually do it, and that's the thing that we actually need to learn, is that there isn't this separation from us creating miraculous healing. It's actually just our belief in doing it. And so what the crystals teach us is how to, close down those paradigms.
Another question from Adam, I think.
Yeah, the dowsing sticks bring that knowledge to the physical for people to understand.
Thank you for the talk. I'm very curious, are you working within a particular tradition of crystal healing, or are these your personal teachings and views that you've accumulated over the years?
So I've channeled a lot of the information, but it's come through activations. So I started off doing pranic healing, and they have a crystal modality in that. And then I did theta healing, which works on the subconscious reprogramming. And I've also done crystal dreaming, which does past life regression. And so and this is something that, I've had a lot of experience with. So I can know how to change things if I have done something to create a disharmony in my body. And I can tell you that you can actually affect your energy. I've come out in rashes before by misusing this information, or I've had a spiritual flu, which is basically too much download of energy, and it just like whacks you out. You can't actually get out of bed. And so this is an actual syndrome of an excess of energy. But the information for the crystal healing that's been created, or the modality, is completely new, and that's channeled information through all of the different stuff that I've been learning. So, yeah, it's very powerful.
Okay, next question. Do we have any more questions? We're all questioned out? Or are you saving them for Q&A? Well, look, I think we might thank Cassandra and Kieran for their wonderful talk.